You know that feeling, right? When you walk into a modern art gallery, everything just stops. It gets quiet. The floors are gleaming, and those stark white walls are everywhere. It's a space that feels totally neutral but also incredibly specific. So today, let's pull back the curtain and figure out what that space is really all about.
I mean, let's be honest. They really do look the same. It doesn't matter if you're in New York or Tokyo, the basic template is identical. But here's the thing. That's not a coincidence. It's a very deliberate design, an entire ideology that's kind of hiding in plain sight. So what is actually going on inside what we call the white cube?
These are the words that writer and artist Brian O'Doherty uses to describe this vibe. He calls it a space devoted to the technology of aesthetics. Every single element is designed to pull the art out of the everyday world to present it as something pure, something totally separate from our normal lives.
And this, right here, this is the core idea. The gallery isn't just a box to put art in, it has its own powerful unspoken rules. O'Doherty says these rules are just as strict and just as meaningful as the ones for building a sacred space, like a church. The room itself is telling you how to think and how to feel about what you're seeing.
But it wasn't always like this, not even close. To really get what the white cube is, we first have to look at the world it replaced. So let's hop in a time machine and go back to the 19th century.
Just look at this. This is a painting of the Louvre back in the 1830s. It is chaotic. It's cluttered. Paintings are jammed in from the floor all the way up to the ceiling, with the frames literally touching. There's no breathing room, no sense of reverence for any one piece. To our modern eyes, it almost looks like a crime against art.
I mean, the difference is just staggering. In the salon, you have a wall of pictures. The whole point is the sheer overwhelming collection. But in a modern gallery, you have a picture on a wall. The focus shifts entirely to that one single object. And you know, this old style only worked because the big, heavy frame was like a force field, turning each painting into its own little self-contained universe.
So, how did we get from that jam-packed wall to the clean, sparse space we know today? What on earth changed that made all these paintings suddenly need so much elbow room?
Well, for centuries, the main idea was this. A painting was a portable window. You looked through the frame into a completely different, fully formed world. The frame was the absolute edge. So, what was going on inside the painting had nothing to do with the wall it was hanging on or the painting next to it. And that's why you could pack them in so tight. But then, artists started to push on that frame, to test its limits. You had landscape painters whose horizons suggested a world that kept going past the edge. Then photography came along and completely changed the game. Suddenly, the frame wasn't a natural boundary, it was a crop, it was a choice. And what you left out of the frame was suddenly just as important as what you left in. All at once, the space around the artwork became charged with meaning. And as O'Doherty puts it, the pictures started to repel each other, demanding their own territory on the wall.
And the solution to this new problem, this new demand for space, well, that was the modern gallery, a brand new kind of room with a very, very specific set of rules.
These are the laws of the white cube. The windows are sealed up tight, gotta keep the messy, unpredictable real world out. The walls are pure white to get rid of any and all context. The light is artificial and perfectly even, and there's basically no furniture to distract you. It all serves one primary purpose.
That's it. It's designed to strip away every clue about time or place or society. The artwork gets completely isolated, lifted out of real life so we can just look at it as a pure, timeless object.
Okay, but why? Why go to all this trouble to create such an artificial, almost sterile environment? This is where things get really, really interesting.
This quote really gets to the heart of it. The white cube tries to take art out of the normal flow of time. It presents the work as if it's completely untouched by history, like it already belongs to the ages. O'Doherty says it gives the gallery a limbo-like status, like you have to check your mortal, messy life at the door just to get in.
So the gallery starts to borrow its power from other formal spaces we already know. Think about a church, or a courtroom, or even an ancient Egyptian tomb. It becomes a chamber built to protect what's inside from change and decay, implying that the stuff in there is eternal.
So this space is doing a few things all at once. First, it makes us behave in a certain way. Quiet, respectful. It creates this illusion that the art is timeless. And that in turn gives it value, right? I mean, pretty much anything you put in one of these rooms is suddenly art with a capital A. And maybe most importantly, it validates the worldview of the people who created it, making their tastes seem not just like a preference, but like an eternal objective truth.
So what does all of this do to us? How does being in this unique environment change how we experience not just the art, but ourselves?
O'Doherty argues that the white cube wants us to boil ourselves down to just two things, the eye and the spectator. The eye is just a purely optical tool, totally detached from our other senses or our memories. And the spectator is the quiet, passive body whose only job is to carry that eye around. We're basically asked to leave the rest of our messy, complicated human selves at the door.
Think about it like this. In this space, the eye is cranked up to the max. But our bodies, the part that wants to sit down or talk or laugh, and ourselves, the part with all our memories and personal baggage, those get turned way, way down. You don't laugh out loud, you don't eat, you don't speak in a normal voice. We perform this very specific, very reduced version of what it means to be human.
In fact, O'Doherty goes so far as to say that our actual physical presence, our very bodies, can feel like an intrusion in a space that's designed for pure sight. We just become these walking mannequins in a room that was really built for the mind.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you find yourself in one of those quiet, white rooms, look at more than just the art on the walls. Ask yourself, what are the rules of this space? How is it trying to make me behave? And who else, besides the art, is really on display here?